say true art has a soul. I never believed it, until the morning a painting reached out of its gilded frame and asked for my help. My name is Elara Wyn, apprentice restorer in the sleepy town of Morrowind. The gallery where I worked smelled of linseed oil and dust, filled with forgotten canvases no one cared to see. I spent my days mending faded skies and chipped portraits, dreaming of creating my own masterpieces one day. But everything changed when I found a paintbrush hidden beneath loose floorboards in the gallery's attic. Unlike any brush I'd seen, its handle shimmered like pearl, and the bristles glowed faintly with sunlight. When I touched it, colors whispered, 1,000 unseen voices calling from within every painting in the room. That evening, while the gallery slept, I tested the brush on a blank canvas. A single stroke bloomed into a vivid meadow so real I swore I smelled wildflowers. Then, to my shock, a tiny painted bird hopped off the canvas and landed on my shoulder, chirping a song that warmed the room. I barely had time to marvel before a deeper voice echoed from behind me. Finally, it said, "A new guardian." I spun around to see an elderly man stepping out of a centuries-old portrait of an orchard. He wore paint-splattered robes and had kind eyes that glimmered like wet ink. "I'm Master Orion," he said, bowing slightly. "One of the last guardians of art. And you, dear child, have awakened the brush of dawn. It means you can hear paintings, see their spirits, and protect them." I blinked. Protect them? From what? Before he could answer, the meadow painting shimmered violently, its colors distorting. A dark stain spread across the sky, as if someone were trying to rip it apart from another realm. The tiny bird fluttered nervously. Master Orion's face turned grave. "From those who see art not as beauty, but as power to be stolen and weaponized." With a wave of his own brush, Orion summoned a glowing portal from another painting, a sunlit staircase leading to a place beyond the gallery's walls. "Morrowind's gallery is but a door," he said softly. "Behind it lies the Luminara Academy, where paintings live, breathe, and must be guarded. You've been chosen to join us, before the darkness consumes what's left of true art." The tiny painted bird chirped, flapping toward the portal as if urging me forward. My heart pounded with fear and wonder. I glanced once at my quiet, ordinary life, then stepped into the portal. And just like that, I crossed into a realm where colors sang, portraits walked, and every brushstroke could change the fate of magic itself. Stepping through the portal felt like diving into a kaleidoscope. Colors spiraled around me, swirls of paint, glimmers of gold leaf, flashes of charcoal and watercolor, until I emerged into a breathtaking hall bathed in warm, glowing light. The floor beneath my boots shimmered like brushed silver. Towering walls were lined with living paintings, oceans whose waves moved gently against the frame, portraits of dancers spinning to silent music, landscapes where clouds drifted lazily. Each canvas seemed aware, watching me with curious glimmers of light in their painted eyes. Master Orion followed me through, smiling softly. "Welcome to the Luminara Academy, the heart of artistry, unseen by the ordinary world." We passed a sculpture of a phoenix carved from molten glass. Its wings flickered with flame, and as we walked by, it bowed slightly, embers floating in the air. "You'll find," Orion said, "that not only paintings, but sculptures, murals, even tapestries, hold life here. And like life, they need protection. Imagine if someone stole this phoenix and forced it to burn on command instead of dance as it wishes." My stomach nodded. "You mean, people actually do that?" "Some," Orion said gravely. "Dark collectors use enchanted pigments to tear art from its essence, twisting it into magical weapons. That is why guardians exist, to stop them, to heal art's spirit when harmed." We entered a sunlit atrium where other apprentices were gathered. Young men and women, some no older than me, were practicing with glowing brushes and enchanted palettes. One girl painted a bridge in midair, which solidified and let her walk across. A boy whispered to a mural of a ship, and the ship's sails unfurled, filling the hall with salty sea breeze. A tall figure approached, a woman with paint-stained gloves, golden spectacles, and a smile both kind and commanding. "Elara Wyn," she said, offering her hand. "I'm Headmistress Seraphine. The Brush of Dawn has chosen you. That makes you very special indeed." I stammered something unintelligible, overwhelmed by everything: the living paintings, the shimmering brushes, the impossible magic. Seraphine chuckled softly. "Don't worry," she said. "We were all wide-eyed on our first day. Let me introduce you to your fellow apprentices." She led me to a trio standing near a vast mural of a moonlit forest. "This is Nico," Seraphine said, gesturing to a lanky boy with wild auburn hair and paint splatters covering his shirt. Nico waved enthusiastically. "Riel," Seraphine continued, pointing to a graceful girl with long braids and sleeves rolled to her elbows, sketching birds that flitted off her parchment and perched nearby. "And finally, Maro," she said, as a quiet boy with dark, steady eyes bowed slightly, his hands stained with ink. "These three will be your partners," Seraphine explained. "Guardians never work alone. Art thrives on collaboration, as do we." Nico leaned closer, whispering conspiratorially. "Don't let Seraphine's calm voice fool you. First week, you'll be dodging flying paint pots and chatting with statues." Riel smiled warmly. "It's not so bad. The art helps you if you treat it kindly." Maro simply nodded, holding my gaze. "You'll need patience. The academy reveals itself slowly." I felt a strange warmth inside. For the first time since finding the brush, I didn't feel so alone. As we spoke, a sudden tremor ran through the gallery. Paintings flickered, sculptures shivered, and a soft cry echoed from the direction of a large, ornate frame. Master Orion's face tightened. "Another tear," he said grimly. Seraphine's tone sharpened. "Guardians, ready yourselves. Elara, this is your first trial. Will you stand with us and help?" My heart pounded, but I gripped the Brush of Dawn firmly. "Yes," I said, voice trembling but resolute. Nico grinned. "Good. Let's go save some art." We raced down a long gallery lined with massive seascapes that swayed and rippled like living water. The tremors grew stronger with each step, and faint cries echoed through the hall, not human voices, but the anguished song of paint itself. At the end of the corridor stood a colossal canvas depicting a stormy ocean. Lightning cracked within its frame, winds howled so fiercely that gusts spilled into the hall, scattering sheets of parchment. Waves crashed violently, slamming against the edge of the painting as if they wanted to escape. Riel stepped forward, shielding her eyes from the spray. "The tears in the heart of the storm," she shouted. "Someone's tried to rip the painting's magic away." Nico twirled his glowing brush like a sword. "Time to patch it up before the whole gallery floods." Maro stayed calm, pulling out inkwells that floated in midair around him. "Elara, you'll need to connect with the painting first," he said evenly. "Let it speak to you." I gripped the Brush of Dawn nervously and stepped closer to the churning canvas. The salty wind whipped my hair as I reached out, pressing my palm gently against the gilded frame. A voice flooded my mind, not words, but feelings, panic, pain, and a desperate cry for help. I saw flashes of an artist's hand, brushstrokes that once danced joyfully to create the ocean's beauty. Something unseen had clawed at those strokes, leaving raw gashes of shadow in the painting's heart. "I can hear it," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "It's scared, it doesn't understand why it's being torn apart." Master Orion appeared beside me, his own brush glowing faintly. "Then comfort it," he said softly. "Guardians don't command art, they listen, they heal. Imagine the ocean as your friend. Show it calm waters, safe skies." Taking a deep breath, I dipped my brush into the nearest floating palette, its colors shimmering like dawn. Slowly, I painted across the canvas, not over it, but into it, letting the brush guide me. The storm's roar softened. Waves stilled slightly, watching me. Nico leapt onto a nearby scaffold and painted glowing buoys that floated into the raging sea, holding it steady. Riel released her sketched birds, which swooped into the canvas, chasing away dark stains that marred the horizon. Maro traced runes of balance in the air, steadying the lightning until it softened into gentle flickers of light. I felt the ocean's spirit quiver beneath my brush, torn edges beginning to knit together like fabric. Colors brightened, the horizon softened into a peaceful dusk. Finally, I whispered, "You're safe now. We'll protect you." With one final stroke, the painting exhaled, releasing a warm, misty breeze that wrapped around us. The storm vanished entirely, replaced by calm seas and a gentle orange sunset stretching beyond the frame. The gallery cheered, paintings clapped their painted hands, sculptures hummed like crystal bells. The restored canvas glowed softly as a tiny silver fish leapt out, circled my brush, and swam back into the sea. Master Orion smiled proudly. "Well done, young guardian. You've earned your first mark of harmony." I looked at the brush of dawn, now streaked with faint, glowing patterns that hadn't been there before. My heart swelled with awe. Riel grinned. "Not bad for a first day." Nico pumped his fist. "I knew you'd be good at this." Maro only nodded, but there was a glint of respect in his dark eyes. Seraphine approached, her golden spectacles glinting. "You've proven your bond with art," she said. "But this is only the beginning. Whoever tore that canvas will not stop. They're testing us, and soon, they'll come for more." The word sent a shiver down my spine. But as I stood with my new friends, surrounded by living art and glowing color, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, not fear, but purpose. After the storm painting was healed, the gallery settled into a gentle hush. The once violent ocean now shimmered under a calm sunset, and seabirds wheeled softly in the distance. Yet as I stood close to the frame, a faint shimmer tugged at my brush. "Elara," Riel whispered, stepping beside me. "Do you see that?" Indeed, at the very edge of the horizon, barely visible, a glimmer of silver script rippled across the painted water. I reached out with the brush of dawn, tracing lightly above the canvas without touching it. The script flared brighter and formed words only we could read. "They come for the color wells. Guard the roots where the first hues sleep." Master Orion's brow furrowed as he leaned in. Color wells, ancient reservoirs of raw magic. Before paints and brushes existed, these wells gave the first artists the ability to create life with their art. Maro spoke in his low, thoughtful tone. If someone drained them, they could twist any masterpiece into a weapon. Nico scratched his head. "That's bad. Like really, really bad." Riel nodded gravely. The message came from the painting's spirit. Whoever attacked it was likely searching for the wells. Headmistress Seraphine joined us, her face more serious than I'd yet seen. "There are 3 known color wells," she said quietly. "One beneath the Aurora Fountain in Luminara's plaza, another hidden in the Sapphire Grotto by the coast, and the third," she hesitated. "Long thought lost in the Twilight Gardens." "Where do we start?" I asked, my grip tightening on the brush of dawn. Seraphine studied us, me, Riel, Nico, Maro, with calm intensity. "Guardians are meant to train for years before facing threats like this," she said. "But the brush chose you. The paintings themselves speak to you. I believe they've already decided." Master Orion chuckled softly. "Sounds like our young guardian has her first mission." That evening, under a sky that looked painted with stars, we prepared to travel. Nico lugged enchanted paint tins that sloshed with glowing colors. Riel packed sketchbooks and rolled up scrolls of magical warts. Maro carried an inkwell staff that shimmered like obsidian glass. I stood quietly in the courtyard, staring at the Aurora Fountain. Its waters glowed softly, tinting the marble plaza in rainbow hues. Riel approached, sensing my nerves. "You did amazing today," she said gently. "The ocean trusted you. We will too." I smiled weakly. "I'm just not sure I'm ready." Nico bounded up, grinning. "That's the secret. Nobody's ready. But that's why we've got each other." Even Maro gave a slight smile. "Art thrives in collaboration," he said, repeating Orion's earlier words. "So do guardians." Before dawn, the four of us stood at the fountain's edge. Master Orion handed me a small crystal vial. "This will let you sense the well beneath the city," he explained. "But beware, if someone is already trying to drain its magic, you may face echoes of corrupted art." Headmistress Seraphine placed a hand on my shoulder. "Listen to the art as you did today. Protect it, heal it. Bring its beauty back to light." With that, glowing bridges of color unfurled from the fountain's waters, forming a path that descended deep beneath Luminara's streets. We exchanged a single look, nodded in unison, and stepped into the glowing descent, our brushes ready, hearts pounding. The glowing bridge spiraled down like a ribbon, carrying us beneath the city's cobblestone streets into a place that felt like stepping inside a hidden masterpiece. The walls were mosaics of living tiles that shifted and rippled like fish in water. Streaks of enchanted light ran along carved arches, casting soft, shifting rainbows over everything. We walked in silence for a while, each of us overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of the underground gallery. Then, faintly, I began to hear it, a hum, low and resonant, like a choir hidden just beyond sight. Riel paused, closing her eyes. "That sound, it's the well. It's singing." Maro nodded. "But the song is broken." At the end of the bridge, we found an enormous chamber. The floor was a vast pool of shimmering liquid color, pure magic, glowing like melted gemstones. From its center rose a crystal obelisk that pulsed with light. This was the first color well. But it wasn't alone. Murals that lined the chamber walls were wrong. Faces twisted with confusion, landscapes fractured as though pieces of the sky had fallen into the sea. Figures painted in shadow moved across the walls, their painted hands stretching toward the well like they wanted to drown in it. Nico whispered, "I've never seen art corrupted like this." Before we could approach, one of the murals peeled itself from the wall entirely. A painted stag leapt into the chamber, its body flickering between colors, eyes hollow yet glowing. It lowered its head as though ready to charge, but something in its posture looked more desperate than hostile. I stepped forward carefully, holding up the brush of dawn. "It's not an enemy," I said softly. "It's lost, confused." Riel sketched a quick circle of calming wards in the air. "Then we soothe it, not fight it." Maro knelt, dipping his inkwell staff into the glowing pool. "I can anchor its essence if you can reach it." I closed my eyes, listening to the well's fractured hum. Using the brush of dawn, I painted a glowing path of light across the stone floor, leading back toward the mural where the stag belonged. The creature hesitated, its painted form trembling. Nico added glowing vines that wove around the path, blooming with luminous flowers. Riel's sketched birds descended gently, singing notes that harmonized with the well's faint melody. Slowly, the stag followed the path. With one final leap, it returned to its mural, body smoothing back into paint, eyes softening with relief. The corruption faded, revealing a peaceful forest scene once more. From within the mural, silver script appeared, forming words. "The thief is near. A shadow paints with hunger." Before we could react, a figure emerged from behind the obelisk. Cloaked entirely in dark paint that seemed to swirl like liquid night, they carried a brush that dripped shadow. Nico bristled. "Who are you?" The figure tilted their head, voice echoing like paint dripping on glass. "I am a collector. Art deserves more than stillness, it deserves power." And these wells will give it to me. Riel stepped forward, firm but calm. You're tearing art apart. The figure's voice softened, almost mournful. I only give it strength to fight its own chains. Their brush flicked, sending ripples of shadow toward the well. The liquid magic quivered, dark veins spreading outward. I raised my brush, heart pounding. We won't let you take it. The shadow paused, as if studying me. Then you must prove you are a guardian. With a swirl of dark paint, the chamber transformed, the floor rising into platforms, murals bending into labyrinthine shapes. The first real trial of a guardian had begun. The chamber around us shifted like a canvas under a restless painter's hand. Floors rose and sank, walls twisted into spirals of dark paint, and glowing platforms floated above the shimmering color well. Murals peeled away from stone, forming bridges and twisting stairways that bent in impossible angles. The shadowy figure's voice echoed everywhere at once. Guardians claim to protect art, yet you bind it to stillness. If you wish to keep this well, find me within its maze and prove you understand its soul. Riel drew a quick glowing map in the air, only to watch it crumble as the labyrinth shifted. We'll have to navigate it by feel, she muttered. Nico tapped his brush against his palm, grinning nervously. Good thing we're artists. We can paint our own shortcuts. Morrow stayed quiet, eyes scanning every surface as though the maze whispered to him. Finally, he murmured, art is alive here, we need to let it guide us. I closed my eyes, gripping the brush of dawn. The hum of the well pulsed faintly beneath the maze's chaotic magic, like a heartbeat buried in noise. I painted a single glowing arrow on the ground. It flared brightly, stretching ahead into the shifting corridors. It's showing a path, I whispered. We followed the glowing trail, dodging animated murals that shifted like guardians of the labyrinth. Some tried to block us with collapsing bridges or spiraling staircases, but when we spoke to them gently, describing their lost beauty, promising to restore them, they relented, melting back into stillness. In one chamber, a corrupted painting of a river lashed out, flooding the floor with dark, churning water. Riel sketched glowing lily pads to form a path, while Nico painted a bridge of glowing rope. As I steadied myself on the swaying bridge, I whispered to the river. You were painted to bring peace, not fear. Remember your calm. The water shimmered, clearing to reveal silver fish leaping joyfully before returning to its mural. The maze shifted again, the exit opening to us. Finally, we reached the heart of the labyrinth, a massive floating platform where the shadowy figure stood, brush dripping darkness into the air. Up close, I saw glimpses of pale skin beneath the shifting paint, and a glint of sorrow in their eyes. Why are you doing this? I asked, stepping forward. The figure's voice trembled slightly. I was a guardian once, like you. But I saw art left forgotten in dusty halls, beauty fading without purpose. I learned to draw strength from the wells, to make paintings fight for survival. Morrow spoke, voice calm but firm. Art doesn't survive through force. It lives when it inspires, when it's cherished. You've turned it into something it was never meant to be. The shadow hesitated. Dark paint rippled uncertainly. I raised my brush of dawn, letting its light pulse gently rather than threateningly. Let us heal the well, I said softly. We'll protect art, and ensure it's never forgotten. But we need you to stop hurting it. The figure stared at me for a long moment. Then, with a weary sigh, they lowered their dark brush. We approached the color well. Its magic trembled under the corruption, colors swirling unevenly. Working together, we painted across the surface, not to cover the shadow, but to weave it into balance. Nico added glowing vines, Riel painted soft skies, Morrow drew intricate runes of harmony. I dipped the brush of dawn into the well and painted a single line of golden light through its center. The hum shifted, deepened, and the darkness bled away like spilled ink washed clean. The well pulsed brightly, sending waves of restored magic through the chamber. The labyrinth dissolved, returning the chamber to its original beauty. The shadowy figure fell to their knees as the dark paint flaked away, revealing a young guardian beneath, eyes tired, robes faded but still bearing the sigil of Luminara. "I only wanted art to matter again," they whispered. I helped them stand, offering a hand. "It already does," I said. "We'll make sure no one forgets it." Master Orion's voice echoed faintly from the restored murals. "Well done, Guardians, but your journey is not yet finished. The other wells remain in danger." As we left the chamber, the restored Guardian walked beside us, no longer cloaked in shadow. Together, we climbed back toward the light of dawn, knowing the next step would take us beyond Luminara's safety, toward the Sapphire Grotto and whatever awaited there. The journey to the Sapphire Grotto began before dawn. Our group traveled along winding coastal paths, where cliffs shimmered with salt crystals and seabirds carved shapes in the misty air. The restored Guardian, whose name we learned was Wyn, walked quietly with us, humbled yet determined to help undo their mistakes. Master Orion's guidance echoed faintly through enchanted sketches Riel carried. "The grotto's well is fragile," his message read. "Protected by ocean magic older than any painting. Handle it with reverence." By midday, we reached a hidden archway of coral and seashells that pulsed faintly with light. Passing through, we entered a breathtaking cavern. Sapphire blue waters stretched out, glowing softly from beneath. Crystal formations hung from the ceiling like frozen fireworks. Living murals of sea creatures swam along the cavern walls, weaving in and out of painted coral reefs. Nico let out a low whistle. "If I painted this, I'd retire immediately. Nothing could top it." But beneath the wonder, something was wrong. The ocean's hum, usually serene, trembled with fear. We waded to the center of the grotto, where the second color well floated like a pearl in a shell of crystal. As we approached, the waters churned. Murals peeled from the cavern walls, forming towering figures of swirling paint, giant sentinels with glowing, tear-shaped eyes. "They're not corrupted," Wyn said softly. "They're testing us." Maro nodded. "Guardians must prove their hearts are true." The first sentinel struck the water, sending waves crashing toward us. Instead of defending, Riel sketched calming birds that circled the sentinel's head, singing softly. The creature paused, paint rippling uncertainly. Nico painted a glowing bridge of vines that stretched between us and the sentinels. "We're not here to take power," he called out. "We're here to heal it." I stepped forward, letting the brush of dawn glow brightly. Holding it aloft, I spoke to the sentinels, my voice echoing in the cavern. "Art isn't meant to fight or destroy, it's meant to bring life and beauty. Let us protect it, as guardians should." The waters stilled. The towering figures knelt, then dissolved into streams of glowing paint that flowed into the well, cleansing it. The well pulsed softly, humming in harmony with the grotto once more. From beneath the sapphire waters rose an enormous mural of the sea itself, its painted waves rolling endlessly along the cavern walls. A final message appeared in shining script. "Guardians are not chosen to own art, but to set it free." Wyn knelt beside the water, tears glimmering in their eyes. "I see it now, what I did wrong." I placed a hand on their shoulder. "You can still be a guardian again. Help us protect this magic." With both wells restored and the threat to the Aurora Fountain defeated, we returned to Luminara. The academy bells rang joyfully as we entered, greeted by Headmistress Seraphine and Master Orion. "Art is safe, for now," Seraphine said with a warm smile. "But there will always be those who wish to misuse it. That's why guardians exist, and why we will always need artists like you." That night, a grand ceremony was held in the living gallery. Murals shimmered with new light, sculptures bowed as we passed, and restored paintings hummed softly in gratitude. I was given the mark of a true guardian, a sigil of radiant color etched gently onto the brush of dawn. As music filled the hall, I looked to my friends, Riel sketching glowing constellations in the air, Nico juggling enchanted paint jars to make the crowd laugh, Maro quietly balancing glowing ink patterns, and Lywin smiling with renewed hope. Master Orion's voice carried above the music. Guardians, remember, art is a song without end. It cannot be caged or stolen, only shared and cherished. Wherever shadows fall, let your colors shine. I felt a warmth rise inside me, brighter than any paint, and knew our work had only begun. Beyond Luminara's walls, countless masterpieces waited to be discovered, protected, and celebrated. As lanterns floated into the night sky like glowing brushstrokes, I whispered to the brush of dawn. We'll keep creating, keep guarding, and keep setting art free. And with that promise, the guardians of art began their next chapter, walking together into a world ready to be painted anew.